Oh, I'm Leigh Mitchell, and I'm here with Natasha Mitchell. No actual relative relation. We just happen to love each other and work well together, but she's from the other side of the world, and I'm here from Canada, although she is living in Canada. And we're here to talk to you about trending topics. And today's trending topic is whether you're sinking or swimming or, God forbid, drowning. And we've all been there, right? Like this pandemic has turned everyone's lives upside down to the point where, we're at this I don't know, I want to call it an impasse where we want to see, we want to get back into the world. We're excited for the future, but I think the pandemic is catching up with us. I think it's incredibly stressful now, re-entering the world and catching up. Like, I'm catching up on tons of medical appointments. I'm catching up on work commitments that I wasn't able to do when the pandemic was in its real raging time. So I'm here to talk to you and Natasha and I on a weekly basis about things that are impacting you and the trends that we've discovered through our research back in February when we put on a workshop on emerging trends in business is the need for community. Mm-hmm. It's not just about doing client appreciation days or having cards that people can sign up for and get discounts after so many uses. It's about building real community where we're engaging in commonalities around what we're experiencing. So Natasha, thank you for doing this with me. I love our collaboration. We're incredible together. And it just so happens that we can keep our titles short with, although I haven't gotten to the point where I'm writing Leigh and Natasha Mitchell.
People will think you're married at that point.
Exactly. But it's been tempting as a marketer. I'm always like, how can I save space?
Yeah.
But I haven't gone that far yet, although it is tempting. It is tempting.
All right. Well,
I would love to. I would love to. I don't know. How are you doing? Are you sinking? Are you swimming? Are you drowning? I don't think you're drowning because I talk to you on a regular basis, but tell me how you're feeling and then I'll tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, firstly, great to be here. And I think just having these real life conversations, might help some other people feel like they're not alone, they're not failures, everything's going to be fine. I think that I definitely have seen what you're talking about, that it feels like the pandemic is catching up to people a little bit. And, at some point it was like, we're locked away and we want to get out and see people. Now it's the opposite. It's like we've been locked away for so long. Now people are nervous and we kind of need to reintegrate. So in terms of how I'm feeling right now in my business and in life generally, I would say it's sort of ups and downs. I am pretty level and even, most of the time. And something that I found during the pandemic in sort of the role I play as a business consultant and business coach is I definitely had to step into a leadership role and provide a lot of support for other people, which was great. I loved doing that. But that didn't always mean I had time to kind of process, I think, some feelings and emotions about what all of this looked like. So, for me right now, I mean, we've got some great projects going on and we'll talk a little bit about those later, but
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm sinking or swimming. I feel like I'm in a little bit of maybe I'm floating, if we're going to use swimming terms. I'm kind of floating, like holding pattern. It's like I'm just staying still on top of I'm not paddling fast underneath. I'm just floating here, deciding what the right next step is going to be for me, right? And definitely I'm kind of seeing an opportunity to pivot, to change things. I think what people want and they need is definitely different than what it was before. I'm going to take a breath for you to chime in a minute. But yeah, I definitely think there's a shift in how people are consuming information. What they need really to support them going forward, from a business side and from a personal side. So maybe I'm floating, but definitely not sinking. But for sure, there was like a few weeks ago, there was a point where it was kind of the point where everything was opening up. I'm like, like I felt like, oh, everything's kind of coming at me fast. It wasn't, but that's kind of how it felt in my mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And what about you, Leigh?
Oh, I've been on a roller coaster. Like you, being our mentor for Women in Biz Network, you've been so gracious in your time and energy towards helping our members, and you by doing that, you've also helped me. So what I'm referring to is a project that you were involved with, where you were helping our members to understand, the process of delegation, and what can you drop, and what can you put on the shelf, and like just making decisions around the amount that we're carrying, right? And coming up with a process, a simple your simple process to handle these things. And I was just like, an epiphany, like I can't work alone anymore. Even though I have these amazing mentors, I really need to feel like I'm a part of a team. And that's when I had that vulnerable moment where I'm like, I'm going to ask her to not to marry me, to date me, and then maybe we can share that last name. Sorry, I can't stop joking about that. But and you said yes. You said yes. I'd love to collaborate with you. Like, let's see what we can do together. And we revamped our membership program. We have added the accelerator, and now I'm just feeling like I said to you, like for the first time in like a month, in the last week, I feel like my health has been stable because I've been having some health issues, and I think it's been related to stress. So I guess I feel like I was starting to sink, but I feel like I'm with you. I'm floating, and I'm like, okay, I see where I want to swim to.
Perfect.
So and we had a comment come in, so let's read that. So it says, a LinkedIn user said, thanks for being honest and vulnerable about your experience, Natasha, and noticing that you were supporting others, and then needing to support yourself. Yes. Good to hear you're floating. I love that comment.
Thank you. And just so you know, we can only see LinkedIn user. We can't see your name. Yeah. So if you do want to like share who it is, just write your name at the start of it. But it's fine to send an anonymous link as well. But Leigh, like I think this is a conversation I have a lot with people in the business world. Is that I feel like we really need friends who are entrepreneurs. And like I have this conversation time and time again with people, with my own people in my masterminding groups, and also with clients. Sometimes we'll be having like a discovery call, and someone will be telling me about their business, and I'll say, like I really get that, and I understand it's challenging. And people literally, you can feel the relief. They're like, oh, it's so good to speak to another business owner and someone who really understands me. They're like, when I'm speaking to my family or friends, they kind of don't get it. They don't understand that added pressure. So I think having that community is really important from that perspective. And I see a couple of other comments coming through as well. Michelle, hi, nice to see you. Nicole, great, hi, nice to see you. So Nicole says she's trying to figure out how to build community and support the needs of clients without becoming over myself as someone who's an introvert and likes working alone, but also wants to serve many more people. Yeah, I mean, that's always, it's really interesting what I see the collaboration with Leigh, which it works really well for me, is that not only And by the way, this doesn't mean that everyone has to collaborate or do joint business projects together, because sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Leigh and I have known each other for a very long time. We're very transparent about what we need and what we want, and so we can, work well together. But what I will say about that is my strength is not really building community. I'm not a community builder in the way that Leigh is. I'm a networker, but I'm not a community builder in the way that Leigh is. So what lightened the load for me, and this, Nicole, might be of interest to you, is that I kind of partnered up with Leigh, one, because I like her and we have like a joint vision, but I partnered up with her because she already has that community. That's not my strength. So I'm not going to spend my time building that community. I'm finding someone who has that complementary skill set that can really we can build each other up in that way. And if that feels like it's the if that feels like it's the right fit for you, then reach out to the network, and it might be just like a one-off conversation you're having with someone, a special project. You might want to go a little bit deeper and say, look, I really do need a business partner or collaborator. But I think the trend is definitely community, and really leveraging each other's skills and talents, and not trying to do it all on our own. Like, I just think it's really hard to do that. So
I was helping with a client with their resume this weekend, and one thing that I had them do was there's an assessment. It's actually a Canadian company that I learned about through the Laurier business program, and it's called Plum, and it puts you through a series of, and it's free, I should mention, puts you through a series of tests to kind of like a quiz, I guess you could say. And it tells you your top strengths and, even questions that you could ask in an interview to make sure that you are the type of person that should be collaborating with the company or the job or the client, whatever. And I just loved it. And so my top 3 strengths were diversity was number 1. So like ability to have diverse thoughts and embrace diversity and love change and adaptation. The second strength was communication. So, the ability to communicate and to, share my ideas to the world like we're doing here. And I'm so thrilled to see all these comments. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yay. And the third one was leadership. I like to lead. I don't like to be micromanaged. My core value is freedom. So, understanding your core values also is really important in collaboration and building strong partnerships and even like just groups of people who meet to just have that sounding board, right? We all need a sounding board. So maybe we can read some more comments. And I don't know if you don't mind doing it, because I have to keep taking my glasses on and off.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, here is Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Michelle's chipping in here. She says she's happy to support other solopreneurs for her Supportive Conversations project. With coaching, she's learning a lot about herself, supporting herself through supporting others, and now getting out of COVID, we need to be more honest with that. Absolutely, Michelle. And you're also a great community builder, and like these conversations, we need to be there to support each other for sure. And one of the things that I've been talking a little bit about lately is sort of in this sinking and swimming river that we're in. It's really the need to look after your health and take a break. One of the things, that Leigh, you and I have been talking about lately, as projects come across our table, and this, a lot of my clients, like, they're just getting flooded. They're in wedding industry or photographers, and, they're in industries like people are just like, we've got to get out and run an event. And there's like so much coming through the pipeline. And I'm seeing that on the coaching and people wanting to delegate more and VAs and all sorts of things. But I think one of the things that can really stop you sinking is one, and it's easy to say, but I really want people to hear this. You need to take a break if you're feeling overwhelmed. Don't try and keep pushing in. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, you need to cancel whatever meetings you have that next day and say, hey, I need to do this another day. I'm sorry, can we reschedule? Because, if you don't take that time to just take a little breath, it becomes exhausting. And second thing is saying no is really important right now. And Leigh and I get a lot of offers and opportunities come across our table. We're reviewing those, but there's a lot of things that we're going to say no to. Not because we don't want to support everyone else's projects, but we have to focus first and foremost on what we need to do to build and grow our business and to support our lifestyles and what we want to do. So if you're feeling a little bit like, there's things that are coming, you're like, well, I kind of feel like I have to say that, say yes to that. I need the money right now, or, I don't want to miss out on business, but it doesn't feel right for you. If it feels exhausting, just the thought of starting that project, I want to encourage you and give you permission to say no to some things as well.
I think that's such a good point. Like, the other day, I had a bit of a meltdown, and you were so kind because we had this call scheduled and we talked, but you were like, you know what, we need to talk about what's going on inside you emotionally before we can dive into business. And so, I was able to get a little bit off my chest, and then I felt so much better. I also want to recognize Sarah Bibb. So Sarah Bibb is part of the Queen Bees. So, for our second company, which is Be Happy HR, we provide marketing and recruitment services for those that are looking to, build their teams, maybe need to know whether or not they need the team complement. Then Sarah, who is our certified HR consultant, we have software that allows us to manage the recruitment process. And, the whole idea is that we help not only, our clients, our HR clients, to be happy in this process. We also make sure that our candidates are happy in the process. We treat them with dignity and respect, and we're lobbying for things, inclusive hiring practices to take place when we're working with our clients. And we also have a diversity-driven career board. So if you're looking for a new opportunity, please do check that out. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, everyone's talking about it around the world, is the slap that could be heard around the world. And everyone's got their opinion on it, and I know I certainly have mine. I happen to have read a lot about Will Smith because I just find him so inspiring, and I appreciate that he just was so driven to get what he wanted, but he leads with integrity, and he's always, from what I've heard, he's always there for people when they need him. And he had a moment where, his wife was insulted and he snapped. He just honestly, because what a lot of people aren't talking about is they said, oh yeah, they had a beef in 2016 about the Oscars, how he, dissed Jada for boycotting the Oscars, which I like the fact that she boycotted the Oscars, because now the Oscars is way more diverse. And if it weren't for those moves, then maybe, again, but Chris Rock is a comedian, and I get that he's trying to do his job. And, he certainly led with, taking, a very, he was very professional, let's say, about how he handled it. It could have turned into a full out brawl on the stage. But when you're reading about Will Smith, what a lot of people don't know, and I think is a really important thing to talk about during the pandemic, is he he watched his mother be physically abused by his father when he was around 9 years old, and he didn't know what to do. He never talked to his mother about what happened. He never tried to stop it, and he carried that guilt with him for, you know, his entire life. And it wasn't until he was doing the book, and if you read the GQ article that chronicles a little bit about his journey to emotional health, to better emotional health, you'll find that he had to sit down with his mom and talk through what he witnessed and how vulnerable and how helpless he felt in the process of seeing this. And, you know, obviously that created a very strong sense of wanting to protect. And someone like, so the reason why I comment on this is because I experienced a tremendous amount of trauma in my childhood. And it wasn't until the pandemic that I actually got some very intense therapy, trauma-based therapy, to deal with what I experienced. Because one of the side effects of it is that you have these crazy, like, split reactions, like you just explode. And, you know, I had a very, well, and I still do to a certain extent, a very explosive temper. And, you know, I knew that I needed to change that within myself. So I started to learn about the science of trauma and how sometimes we just go into our reptilian brain. And I know everyone was commenting on, well, he was smiling and, you know, when the joke first started, but, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily get jokes right away. Like, it doesn't land on me like, oh my God, I think I've just been insulted. And then he went up and he did something that was highly inappropriate. Don't get me wrong, highly inappropriate. But that being said, you know, I just feel that we need to learn more about mental health. We need to learn more about the why, not the what. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to get your perspective on it in terms of, like, you know, what might have caused this in this day and age.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just want to quickly say, Mina left a comment. She said every time she takes a break, she reaps the consequences when she gets back. I know Mina, and she's an accountant, so it's becoming a busy time of year.
Yeah.
But she said she'd been still making time to take the breaks recently. Yes, and sometimes it is a little bit like there's more waiting for us to come back. You know what? Life goes on. There's going to be like a million tax returns every year. So, you know, at the grand scheme, it's not a contest to say how many tax returns did I get done versus how much fun did I have in life. Hope that helps, Nina. But in any case, you know, I think just kind of getting back to what we did see in a very, very public setting with very public figures, agree, completely inappropriate. But what I would say is I think there's a lot of people on the edge right now. And as I say, I think as business owners, as human beings, the more we can do a couple of things. I think empathize with the fact that everyone's having stress in their own way, and you might get some unexpected results. You know, like I even know, you know, silly things like, you know, when we're being asked to, you know, social distance or 6 feet apart, and someone gets right in my face, like in a line or in a shop, and is not being considerate. Like, I also have been known to have a bit of a temper and speak my mind, but I'm really trying to hold back and kind of diffuse situations, because I just think there's so much of it right now. There's so much bad news, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. There's a lot of bad news around. We're all trying to process that. We've all got things that are going on, and as I say, something that might have just seemed, you know, like a joke in the past and kind of rolled off people's backs. They're not. Like, people are on highly strung alert right now. And I think it's just important to understand that's the world we're living in. You know, I think we see it all the time on social media. And I mean, that's a whole discussion for another day, where people, you know, share an opinion about something, and then there's a barrage of like arguments and back and forward, and people, it's almost like people really haven't had someone to talk to, so they're expressing themselves on social media, but they're not respecting each other's opinions. And like I'm sure we all in this pandemic in particular, there's a lot of very polarizing views on what's right or what's wrong. And Leigh, I don't know about you, but like even in some of my friendships groups, we're in polar opposites in terms of our thoughts and opinions on that. We, if I wanted to stay friends with these people, and for me, it's important that unless someone's physically, emotionally, mentally abusing me, I want people to be able to have their own opinions. And at some point, you just need to say, we agree to disagree on whatever that is, and walk away. But I think just in terms of that, that sort of sinking and swimming, I recommend that, if you're feeling a bit stressed, you don't want to be having a highly confrontational conversation. And I'm kind of deviating. I don't think the behavior was appropriate. I think, it was really unfortunate, but I understand people's like snap decisions and snap reactions, which they might not have normally done. And, I think just in terms of kind of how we can support ourselves and each other is try and find someone who, shares. I'm not saying you need to homogenize views, but when you're feeling stressed, don't have a conversation with someone that is going to trigger you. Like, just don't do it, because that's not going to help you. Try and find that safe space, that person who can listen and empathize with your view, regardless if they agree with it or not, but can kind of diffuse the situation a little bit. I think that's key. But yeah, look, really unfortunate, very topical. We see stuff in the media all the time. And, it's these kind of conversations, like we need to observe, have our opinion, have a healthy dialogue about it. But if it comes to a point where someone's saying, well, that was okay, or that wasn't okay, or whatever it is, and you're completely opposed, have that conversation, but know when to walk away. You don't have to be right in every single conversation. You can express your opinion, but this is not a competition to say who's right and who's wrong, right? So I think just knowing that people are very much on edge, little things can set you off. Understanding that if you're the cause of creating some reaction like that for people, to know when to step back or to apologize. And I just see a couple of other comments. Sarah says, there's even polar opposites in the family. Yeah, and that's hard when it's in family, when it's close to home, when it's good friends, when it's good, family, like that's challenging, right? So try and step away from that. We're kind of having this context in a business context, but it's really real life, because real life affects what's happening in your business as well.
Yeah, I really want to echo what you're saying as well. I think that domestic abuse is on the rise because of, everyone being so like together in the moment of like, just there's so much going on. There's so many stressors. And so it's impacting relationships.
And even dogs are fighting it.
Yes. Just give me a second. I'm just going to let her out. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, so these are real life, and I really appreciate the conversation that's happening over here in the chat. Willie, Sarah, Mina, Michelle, Nicole, some really great conversation. So I just want to let you know, also, we're not going to have like hours and hours long conversation today. We just want to come on and talk about like things that are affecting us in our business, finding ways to support. We want to also let you know that the Women in Biz Network, this Facebook group, these conversations, these are a place for you to feel part of our community. You're very welcome here. You're very welcome to have different opinions. We encourage diversity of thought, of feeling, and if if there's something you want to discuss and you need a friendly, safe place to learn, like send us a message or put a note in. It's not only Leigh and I, like this is an
Yeah.
amazing network of women. And if you want to use social media, use it in a positive way to be your community, right? Like it doesn't have to be like a negative place. If you need support, reach out. And Michelle, yeah, absolutely, never alone. And there's I think we forget that. And Leigh, you've said, I've heard you say this
Mhm.
before, you're always there if someone needs to pick up the phone and have a chat. And likewise,
Yeah.
right? Like sometimes it can feel really lonely. I know a lot of my friends, are single women through this pandemic. And there's that's a whole other conversation for another day. But whether you're a single woman or a single man, and you've been at home alone for this pandemic, like that has been very isolating as well. And again, now that we're coming out of that, it's been isolating. There's a transition that people are going through to kind of re-emerge into that world. So I just want to let you know that you there's a community here. We're glad that you're a part of it. We're very glad that you're joining us today and continue to join in the conversation. Leigh, as we wrap up today, are there any other thoughts you've got around this whole sinking or swimming and what we can do to try and remain more on the swimming side as much as we can? And again,
Mhm.
sometimes we do need, look, sinking or swimming, I think the floating analogy is actually perfect. Sometimes we're not always paddling. We're just chillaxing and, enjoying the ride.
Yeah, if I had more room, I wish I had thought to put floating in there because I think floating is a really great analogy because, mindfulness is about just being still and just, feeling what's going on, like not pushing away the feelings, feeling it, you know, acknowledging what you're experiencing and then seeing, what you need to do to respond to get back into your central nervous system so that you feel more grounded and less stressed. So, some of those things are, if you get a really triggering email, perhaps you just, as they say, count to 10 before you press send. I think what you need to do is, like, sometimes if it's something that you don't know what to do about, give it 24 hours,
Yeah.
maybe even 48 hours, right? Like I think that can really help. Breathe through some of these challenges. Try meditation or spend a little bit of time in nature. You know, as the weather gets warmer, schedule some walking meetings. Like look for opportunities where you can have like the ability to merge some of your worlds that you love, right? So like,
Yeah.
if you love nature, think about hosting some sort of event in a natural setting. If you're like, love cool places, look at some of the awesome places that you can rent now that, and support a small business.
Yeah.
There's lots of cool apps where you can like find co-working space and, be able to use all kinds of different ones depending on where you are that particular day. So yeah, don't don't isolate.
Mhm.
I love that you mentioned go to our Women in Biz Facebook page and our group and share if you need something. Someone will answer you. We all rally around each other to support each other. Attend events. The world is reopening and it will be nice to be able to see each other physically. We are going to have an interesting aspect of this trending topic. So what we're going to do on April the 5th is we're going to open up Zoom room. So we're going to start with our chat here, and then we're going to invite our members to talk about their feelings on the topic that we've just had a conversation about. And so our members can then share what they're going through, and we can have a conversation with them over in the Zoom room as well. So we've got a lot of really cool things coming up on May the 5th. We're going to have our next event. And do you want to describe what that's going to be about? So our next in-person event, that's there where we're going to be talking about planning for, we're going to be talking about planning for our next quarter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And this is real life. Leigh just put me on the spot. I didn't know we were going to talk about that. So I wasn't prepared.
Okay, yeah, optimize. So we're going to be talking about optimizing your business model and getting clear on what it is and how to move forward. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we absolutely have some cool things. As I say, Leigh and I are going to now have these chats as a regular weekly event. So, you know, jump on, join in the conversation. Thank you, Willie. We love having you as a Women in Biz member. And yes, we've built some amazing friendships over time. And those are really valuable personal and business connections to have. So yeah, like join us in these conversations. Send us a message or write in the Facebook group and let us know what you'd like us to talk about. You might want to ask us a question, you know, to us how we're handling something in our business. This is an opportunity, not just for us to chat. Oh, sorry, just 5th of May is going to be still a Zoom event, Jessica, but a live Zoom event. We'll get to live events soon, but not quite yet. But yeah, you know, just share what's topical for you. We want to have some real conversations. You know, I think it's time we can have a lot of the rah-rah about, oh, how to get 1,000 leads in your business and how to fill your pipeline with amazing people. Great. I love those conversations too. But, you know, this is kind of going to be the real talk, what's really going on, what's working, what's not. And provide resources. So thank you everyone for joining us today, joining in the conversation. Great to be here with Leigh. Leigh, do you want to wrap us up for the day?
Yeah, thank you. So this was a great kickoff. Thank you so much for your engagement. Gosh, we have such an amazing community. You know, there's always that moment where you're like, are we going to be the only people at the party? But our community always delivers. And thank you so much for being here for our kickoff event. It's been great. Natasha, thank you for all of the support that you continue to give Women in Biz Network and to me. Yeah, we're a wonderful team. And thank you to my queen bees who also are part of Be Happy HR. And yeah, I think there's some amazing things to come in the future.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye.